Welcome to the Hearts Entwined podcast. In this podcast, we'll be having discussions around the secrets which attract lasting, healthy, fulfilling relationships, creating a healthy mindset, and what women should know and understand about men. Introducing your host, Lyn Smith, the Queen of Hearts, relationship expert, trainer, speaker, and best-selling author of the Cupid's Bow technique. Lyn's mission is to have a positive impact in reducing divorce, domestic violence, and suicide.
Welcome to the Hearts Entwined podcast. And today, listeners, I've got a really unusual guest, somebody different to my normal guest. She is Vaishali Nikhade. Is that correct? The surname, did I pronounce that correct?
Nikhade, yeah, close.
Nikhade. Okay. Welcome, Vaishali Nikhade.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Now, Vaishali is different in that I've never had a psychic, I don't think, on the podcast before. So today I'm really excited by the fact that I've got a psychic on the actual podcast show, and we're going to be discussing today how to use your intuition in love. So very warm welcome to you, Vaishali.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Would you just explain to the listeners a little bit about yourself and what it is you do specifically?
Yeah, sure. So, hello everybody. My name is Vaishali Nikhade, and I am a psychic who specializes in future predictions. And most of my readings have been people who are looking for relationships. I've done over 7,000 readings, and most of the readings are, I would say about 70%, 80% are women, and then they're looking for relationships. And I used to actually be an engineer, and I used to design computer chips. And then I transitioned into becoming a psychic. So I bring a little bit of blend of my engineering background or a little bit expertise that I read slightly differently. And I kind of combine everything like all my background from physics or engineering and everything that I have learned from lots of different places that I have studied. And I specialize in making predictions for, let's say, the description of a person. Like if you're single and you're looking for somebody, then I can give you a description of what this person is going to look like, where you will meet them, how, like what kind of profession they would have, what is the timing, and so on. And I've had like hundreds of clients who have come back and reported all these readings play out in real life. So I am excited.
Wow. So when did you sort of first realize that you had this psychic gift?
So it's actually something that can be studied. It's every one of us is born with it. And it's something that I studied, and it can be studied. And you can actually start learning and making predictions. That's how I started. I started making predictions for myself because coming from a scientific background, I knew that if I wasn't able to hone down my accuracy to predict events which were going to happen, let's say in the next 6 months, 3 months, 1 month, 1 hour, then I said, this is like, it's a bunch of BS kind of a thing. So I played with these readings for myself, and I started making predictions for myself. And then once I started seeing them play out, then I started reading other clients. And then the clients would come back and tell me, oh my God, that actually happened. And before I knew, I was doing that for a living.
Wow. So what sort of readings do you do? Is it tarot cards or what do you use?
So I don't use tarot cards. I use a different kind of cards. And I also use a combination of clairvoyance. So like I mentioned, I've studied like a lot of different techniques. And one of the techniques is like clairvoyance, which is just being able to see without your naked eye. So that is one of the techniques that I use. But I also I also use a couple of other techniques where I do use card readings to get more and finer accuracy in predictions, like in pinpointing things and in getting them, like getting all the details. And I'll give you an example. Maybe it's easier. Like, for instance, one of these clients, let's say her name, I'll just give a fake name, which is Jessica. And she has been reading with me for the past 6-7 years. And she came to me when I first got started, and she actually had the same reaction, which is when she saw a couple of readings play out, she was like, oh my God, this is actually happening. Uh, and she came to me recently and she said, hey, so can you tell me what's going to happen to me during the week? And I told her that she was going to receive some sort of a nice gift or something. And she was like, nobody's going to give me a gift. I said, well, I don't know. You tell me in 1 week what happens. And then she came back to me after a week and she said, oh my God, my husband gave me like a bouquet of flowers and some champagne and so on and so forth. So actually, that's how she got the gift.
That's brilliant. Love it. So when it comes to, initially working around how to use your intuition in love, what's your advice around that particular subject?
So like I mentioned, all of us are born with this gift or intuition, whatever way you want to call it. So all of us are born with this, let's say all of us have all these gifts, okay? But it's just a matter of using them or not using them. And I'll give you an example. Like, for instance, all of us have like 2 legs, or most of us have 2 legs. And we can use these legs the way we want. We can use these legs to walk, and some people will just walk with the legs. And we can also use these legs to jog, and some people will jog. And then some people will run, and then some others are going to sprint. So it's still the same pair of legs, but people are putting it to use in different ways. Like, the person who's walking is different than a person who's jogging, is different than a person who's running, is different than a person who's sprinting. And as you advance to each of these stages, you have essentially put in some work to get to that stage. You cannot get up one day and say, tomorrow I'm going to run a marathon. Well, it's only possible if you've been training for a long time, but most of the times, otherwise, it's not. So essentially, you have to build up on the skill set, or in this case, you have to build up on the leg muscles to be able to run that half marathon or marathon, or to be able to sprint. So the psychic or intuition, it works the same way. Essentially, we are all born with it, which is similar to like 2 legs. But then as soon as we start using it, we'll go to what is known as the jogging phase, which is a little bit more awareness, that you start recognizing things that exist, that, oh my God, I kind of felt this thing. And I'll give an example. For instance, like, let's say I got this thought in my head that, I should probably pay my water bill. Okay. And then I go and log in and I see, oh my God, today's the last day. I was actually going to pay it tomorrow. And if I had paid it tomorrow, I would have paid a fine. Right? So essentially, it was my intuition that was telling me that, hey, go and pay your bill unless you want to pay a fine. Probably not in that many words, but it's a little bit more subtle. It's more like a soft whisper. Like, there's a name called clairaudience, where you can just hear voices, and it's more like a soft whisper. Or in case of clairvoyance, you'll probably see like an image that you need to pay your bill, otherwise you're going to have to pay a fine. So that is like the first stage of intuition. And you can use these stages for a relationship, for instance, for a romantic relationship. Like, you meet this person and you get a hunch that, oh my God, something is wrong with this person. You should ask him this question. So instead of, you need to pay your bill, I'll give an example. You can ask him like, oh, so do you live by yourself? And then based on what he answers, or the way he answers, your intuition will pick up that this is what's wrong. So essentially, it's just being able to flex your muscle to find out what is wrong in the relationship, or what will potentially go wrong. And your intuition has the ability to know that already. And it's trying to communicate with you that, hey, listen, go and instead of go and pay your bill, which is for a normal scenario, like, go and ask this guy this question or watch something. Like I had a reading where a guy said, he said he got this hunch that, he should go and check his wife's tablet. And then when he checked his tablet, oh my God, there was a big disaster, disaster in there. So it's the same thing in terms of intuition, which is essentially you get hunches and you need to follow up on them. And when you do that, you can actually figure out for yourself which way the relationship is going, whether it's going to move forward, whether it's going to fall apart, or whether you are just kind of wasting your time, kind of a thing. And a lot of people get these hunches. Some may follow up on them and some may not. And then the psychic one, like if you go a level above, which is more like sprinting, like running and sprinting, that is where the psychic part comes in. And in this particular phase, what you can do is you can actually, like for this one, you have to be a little bit more skilled. So it's not like getting a hunch and say, just ask him this question. This one, somebody who has been through a lot of these exercises, for lack of a better word, or has done a lot of practice. Because if you look at sprint, it's just like a series of long runs and a series of faster runs. So like somebody who has done a lot of these readings, they can actually look into it and predict the future and say, okay, so now, just like I gave Jessica's example, like, she's going to get a gift. I can tell you that, okay, this guy is not telling you the truth about him being single. And then you go and ask this guy that, hey, so are you really single? And he says, oh, no, this, that. But essentially, that's what a psychic would do. They would actually pinpoint everything and they would give you like the exact question to ask or what is going to play out. And then depending on what that prediction is, you can kind of change things for yourself. I hope that makes sense.
It did make sense. It did. So how can we sort of become more aware? Is there any sort of initial first steps that you can give as exercises to sort of practice, to sort of build that muscle initially, to sort of know that we are tapping in and have confirmation that we're tapping into the right sort of information we're receiving, rather than thinking, do I trust what I'm thinking, or is it just me being in my own head?
That's a great question. I think one of the best ways to do that is just look at one relationship you've had in the past and kind of go back in time and go through the point where you first met this person, like what was your gut feeling? Just take yourself back there. And when you met this person, what was your gut feeling? And did you like follow that feeling? And whether or not you followed, what happened in step number 2? Like, I'll give you an example, okay? And this is a totally fictitious example. So let's say that, I go back to some clients, or I'm just going to make up a fictitious example. So let's say John and Jenny, okay? These are the 2 people, okay? And Jenny actually meets John. Let's say that we are in a pre-COVID era and Jenny goes to some sort of a big event or a fair or something, and she comes across John. And then, so this is like the first point of contact where they meet. So, and let's say that John asks her out for a date. So then if you are Jenny, then you need to kind of say that, okay, so when he asked me for a date, what was my feeling? Like, how did I feel about going out with this person on a date? And then when they went on the date, you just go and relive the date in your memory and just see that, how did it go? Like, at what point during the conversation did you find that something was fishy, or did you feel that, things were moving in the right direction? And you'll be able to kind of point the finger, because right now you have kind of already passed that stage. essentially you're looking back, right? So it's a lot easier looking back because you know the final destination or the final result. And there are not that many emotions involved, because when you are in it, things can be a little bit more emotional. So that's like the first point where you go on the first date, you relive it in your memory and go on the first date and figure out, okay, so did I get any red flags during this point? Okay. And then you go to the second date and then you say, okay, so did I get any red flags during this point? And as you make this journey from the point you had first contact with John until, let's assume that the relationship didn't work out, until you broke up, and let's say you split this journey from point 1 to point 10. So just like you have running, you have 10 miles or 13 miles, you say you have 10, where 1 is the point you meet and 10 is the point you got split. So if you got split at point number 10, by 8 and 9, when you reached point 8 and 9, you pretty much knew that things were going to break up. But if you go back intuitively, you will find that probably all the red flags were there at point 3 and 4. So essentially what happened is you knew it intuitively, but you were still kind of waiting to see. In some cases, you were hoping for a miracle. In some cases, you were just waiting for things to play out. But essentially, you'll be able to see that intuitively you knew it like long time before. So that is like one way to go back and relive and flex this muscle.
I love that, because quite often I think for everybody, regardless of whether you're male or female, no matter who you are and what sort of relationships you've been in, I think most of us of a certain age can at least say, whether it's a friendship relationship, romantic relationship, intimate relationship, or whatever, that we've probably been in that friendship or relationship probably way longer. And we look back, then we intuitively knew it should have gone on for.
Yeah. And that's the reason I said that take a past relationship, because since you're out of it and hopefully you've gotten over it, it's a lot easier for you to point the finger and say, oh, it was at point number 3 that I already knew. So why did I keep going to mile number 4, mile number 5, all the way up to 10 when I already knew at 3? And that is something you can use for next time, which is use your intuition and say that, okay, if I knew at mile number 3 then, if I know in the next one, then what can I do differently? Or how can I play this thing differently for next time?
Yeah, absolutely. Love that. And I love that you're giving examples as well, because that's really helpful to the listeners and the audience to sort of get an idea of, how to use this information to help themselves. Yeah.
And then another way is, I also have a quiz. And in this quiz, I have like all real life situations. So essentially, then it all becomes about flexing your intuitive muscle. And you can use it in your love life, or you can use it in your personal life, or you can use it in your business life. But then it's all a game of flexing this muscle and building it up, just like, how you build up from the walking to jogging to running to sprinting. So it becomes a game of building this muscle. And what I did in this quiz is I took a lot of real life scenarios, and each scenario has actually played out in real life. And you can use this as an example. Like in one case, you're just practicing on yourself. Like I gave you the example that you can practice on a past relationship of yours. But there is a little bit of a bias because you already know the answers. So the reason I gave you that example is because you already know the answers. It's very easy to identify everything. And it's a very easy starting point. Just like when you go from walking to jogging, then it's a very easy transition because you're already walking, and then you just walk a little bit faster and just a little faster and you're jogging, right? So this is the same way that if you look at something that you have experienced yourself in the past, it's a lot easier to point fingers because the only person you can point fingers to is yourself. Sorry.
Absolutely. I agree. Yeah. We don't like to do that, do we? We like to sort of point fingers at our partner, but actually we are at least 50% responsible for whatever's occurring at any one moment in our lives, aren't we?
Yeah. So the only person you can point fingers to is yourself. So now that you're done pointing fingers at yourself, you don't need to feel bad about it. You can make fun about it, that, hey, let somebody else come and do this to me. You are not going to let this happen, kind of a thing. But you still need to kind of you still need to flex that muscle. And in order for you, so just like I said, it's from walking to jogging. So walking is when you're doing it in your own life, that you're kind of practicing it on something that has already played out. But when you want to go to the jogging phase, you are essentially looking at something else. And what I have in this quiz is just examples, and not all the questions are related to love life examples. Because the thing is, you have to build up your muscle for intuition, and then you can use it in your love life. It doesn't mean you have to build it up only for love life scenarios. You can use it for, like I showed you, to pay the bill, and not pay a late fine. Or in different scenarios, like, maybe you feel like your car is having a problem, and then you go and get it checked, and of course it's having a problem. So what I've done is I've compiled different scenarios to test the muscle in different ways. And think about it like, if you're running on a street versus running on a trail versus running on I forget the name, running on different surfaces, the ground is going to be different if you're running uphill or downhill or on the trail or on the road or somewhere else, right? So it's all going to be different. But the basic exercise is still the same. You're still running. So in the same way, I've given you different scenarios where you can actually play with your intuition and test your intuition. And this is just another way to be able to build your muscle.
Excellent. Love it. I think I'm going to be tempted to take it myself and see where I am on the intuition-ometer, so to speak.
Yeah. It's a great quiz. It's very carefully crafted. And I would say when you take that quiz, please don't be like somewhere walking, phone in your hand and talking to someone, not that kind of thing. Take 10 minutes of your time, sit in front of a computer, be serious about it, and then take the quiz so that you can get a more accurate evaluation. Otherwise, you're looking here, there, clicking here, there. That doesn't have any meaning.
Well, I'm certainly, as I say, very keen to have a go at taking the quiz myself. And I'm sure the listeners and a lot of the audience members tuning in at the moment would be keen to do that. So where can we access that quiz, Vaishali?
Sure. So it's on my website. And my website is just my name, my first name, last name.com. So vaishalinikhade.com. And then I can get you the URL for the quiz and you can put it in the show notes, but you can access this via my main website, and I'll put it on the front page. I'll have like a quiz tab on the front page so that people can go.
Excellent. Well, I'll make sure that is in the show notes along with Vaishali's other contact information. So anybody interested in learning more about how you can use your intuition in love or in life in general, then if you're interested in accessing that quiz, just go to the show notes from this particular episode and you'll be able to log in and have a go and see where you are.
Yeah, cool. I would love to see you guys there and see what you come up with for your intuition.
Thank you so much, Vaishali. Any final words of advice before we wrap up the episode?
I will say the final word of advice is that the universe is always sending us the signals. It is up to us to be able to decode them and understand them. So just raise your awareness antenna and you can move faster in your life.
Excellent. Love it. Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed this episode. It's been fascinating. And as I say, I'm keen to have a go at that quiz myself. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing your unique gifts and the information about how we can use that intuition in our own love and life.
Yay. Thank you. It was nice to be here. I enjoyed talking to you.
So it just leaves me to wrap up that as I always say, true love starts with opening our hearts. And until next time, goodbye for now.
Thanks for listening to the Hearts Entwined podcast. You can follow Lyn via the Facebook group Two Hearts Entwined, or search Lyn Smith, inspirational speaker, at LinkedIn, or email lyn@hearts-entwined.com. That's LYN@hearts-entwined.com. Remember, true love starts with opening our hearts.